Welcome to Jones and for Sports, where we make sports better.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Luke from Jones and for Sports. Obviously, it's over my head. I'm not going to call this a special edition of the Take Deep podcast because it's not a podcast without E and Sean, as far as I'm concerned. But what we do have tonight is something a little different, a little interesting, more for the baseball fans / anyone among us who's into gambling. Now, that's not necessarily my avenue, but I do get asked every year when it rolls around from March to April for what are some good bets for baseball for the upcoming year, teams with their win and loss record, something to that extent. So as opposed to giving the knowledge to just one or two people, I would rather give it to all of you. So what I got here is one of these nice tier lists that we've seen all over YouTube the past year or so. And basically we got the take the over category, which will be for teams that I think should be not well above, but at least 3 to 5 games ahead or better than what Vegas is predicting them on the money, which is obviously, if you're within 2 games of what Vegas is calling, I'd say that's pretty dead on. And the definite under is obviously 3 games or more worse than what Vegas is calling for your line for the year. So work with me here, but I have this sorted, by the way, alphabetically in case anyone's curious about the order. It's alphabetical by team, city, or state. So let's get it started with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Vegas got them here 74.5. I'd say it's pretty dead on. The problem with the Diamondbacks is that you're in a shit division where the Padres and the Dodgers are very good teams, and they're going to take turns beating up on their in-division little brother for the bulk of the year. So the Giants, the Diamondbacks, and the Rockies, who are terrible, they're probably not going to get much out of those 36 to 38 games where they got to play the Padres or the Dodgers. Aside from that, frankly, they're at best the third best team in that division. And it really comes down to how well are they going to play against the Giants. I see that maybe going more in the Giants' favor. But yeah, that's 74.5. That's pretty on the money. The Atlanta Braves, 91.5. I'm going to take the over on the Braves. The Braves are the best team in that division until proven otherwise, and the only team, in my opinion, that can prove them otherwise would be the Mets. Again, this is a dogfight division. Even Philly, if a lot of things go correctly, but Philly could win this division. It's that close, top to bottom. The Marlins, I'm sorry, you're not really to be considered a contender, but they're not completely useless in terms of being a competitive team. The Braves, you obviously have a very potent lineup, an underrated staff. The only concern with the Braves is if one player like Albies, Acuna, Freeman gets injured for any longer than, I'll say, a 10-day stint on the DL, that might hurt them. Depth is really the only thing with the Braves that you're not in love with. But yeah, 91.5. That's a solid number. I got no problem with that number. The Baltimore Orioles, 64.5. Give me the over. The Orioles are not, they're not a playoff team. They're not a contender by any means, but they've been rebuilding now for 5 or 6 years. And once they call up guys like Mountcastle, Rushman, they're going to help that lineup that is sneaky, not a terrible offense. The pitching is bad, and Camden is, let's just say, the National League equivalent of Coors Field. A lot of home runs go against them. Pitcher ERAs do not tend to do too well in Baltimore, and they don't have a particularly strong staff, but they have a decent enough offense. And I think there's enough other bad teams in the American League, like Texas or, the Tigers, for example, where they could probably win 4 of 6 against them. That might push them up a little bit. I would give them maybe 67, 68 wins on the year. They're not going to break 70, but they'll be better than 64 and a half. Boston, 80 and a half. That's right about where you should have. This team can hit. They still can't pitch. They did make strides to fix the pitching. Guys like Richards, Ottavino. You're showing that you're at least trying, but the Yankees have a better rotation and a better offense. Tampa has a better rotation, and Toronto has a better offense. All in all, you're probably looking at about a 500 ball club here. I would say 82, 83 max is the high water mark for wins for Boston. Not a playoff team, but definitely better than last year for sure. Chicago Cubs, 78 and a half. I don't know if there's a team in the National League or in all of baseball that I'm less high on than the Cubs. When they traded Darvish, that to me said this roster is not competitive. There's no reason to pay a guy like Darvish. We'd rather flip him and, just start the rebuild without formally starting the rebuild. But for a team that can't pitch in a dogfight division, I don't see a good outlook. I see them as about a 75 win team, slightly below 500. White Sox, 90 and a half. Over, for sure. The beauty of the White Sox is they have the Royals and they have the Tigers. And they have a Cleveland team who does not seem to want to try and challenge anybody. And what does that equate to in the long run? Wins, frankly. This team can pitch, they can hit, they can run, they can do everything you need them to do. This, to me, is the second best team in the American League, top to bottom. I don't think it's close. Cincinnati, 81 and a half. I'm going to take the under. Actually, no, I'm going to put that at on the money. Here's why. The Cubs and Reds have a very similar offense where they can score. The Cubs are not total garbage when it comes to offense. The Reds underperformed. But in a 60-game season, I'm not going to hit you over the head expecting that you're going to suck again. What they did lose is Trevor Bauer. That's the reigning Cy Young winner. That's a lot of wins. But you still do have a resurgent Sonny Gray and Luis Castillo and a decent bullpen where, the Reds can be competitive. I'm not going to give them the over until they prove they can win. Let's put it like that. Cleveland Indians, another 81 and a half. That, my friends, is on the money. This is a 500 team. That offense without Lindor is going to suffer. We know that. Wouldn't be shocked if Jose Ramirez got dealt either at the deadline or in the offseason because frankly, there's no reason. If you can't keep Lindor, you're not going to keep Jose Ramirez. What Cleveland always has is pitching. Bieber's the reigning Cy Young. Tristan McKenzie's a stud. James Karinchak at the back end of the bullpen is a stud. So that'll keep them in games. I just don't know if the offense is going to get them any more than 83 wins. So that 81 and a half seems about right. Colorado Rockies, 63 and a half. This is probably the worst Rockies team since their inception, in my opinion. There's no reason you should have traded Arenado for literally nothing. Trevor Story is going to want out. I'm amazed he's still on the team, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's gone by the deadline. They can't pitch. There's really nothing to say about the Rockies. It's just they are, I will call them a factory of sadness amongst baseball teams right now. To say that they're going to get 63 and a half, I see them being a sub 60 team, maybe a 59, 58. Detroit, 68 and a half. I'm going to put that one on the money. I think they can win 70, and I think maybe 71 is their high water. If there was a column for, put them halfway between, take the over and on the money. I just want to see how the young kids like Scooball, Matt Manning, I want to see how these kids impact right away the overall culture and the just the talent level of this team. To me, they're probably 2 years from being, a playoff contender. 70 wins as a high watermark. I think that's realistic. And AJ Hinch is a damn good manager. Just, remove the trash can bullshit. This team is probably on the launch pad of something good. Houston, 87 and a half. I will say that is slightly off. The NL West is the weakest it's been in years. No one seems to be talking about the Astros, I guess, because Verlander's still hurt. They didn't really do anything splashy in free agency, and ever since they lost Cole, it seems like they kind of, I'm not going to say disappeared, but people stopped really giving a shit. But this team is still good. You still have Correa, Altuve, Michael Brantley, Yordan Alvarez, Yuli Gurriel. You still have McCullers. You still have Zach Greinke. You're getting Verlander back. And you have a good bullpen. Like, there's no reason this team can't win 93 games, 90, maybe 94. So to put them at 87 and a half, that's just a little low. 73 and a half on the Royals. Give me the over. The Royals are in a weird spot where they have no business competing for a playoff spot. They shouldn't compete for a playoff spot, but they've assembled a roster where if they do well, I don't think they're going to be buyers at the deadline, but I think they could do well, sell high, and then crash and burn in the back half of the calendar. So do I think that Kansas City is necessarily a playoff team? No. They're better than what people are giving them credit for. Definitely. I think 73 and a half is a smidge low. I'll give them maybe 76. And I'm talking max. Angels, 83 and a half. For anyone who listened to our episode about the offseason in review, you should know that I despise the Angels because they never do anything right with free agency. They annoy me. They're ruining Mike Trout. 83 and a half, too generous. They still can't pitch. Someone's going to get hurt. They're like the Reds, where prove to me that something won't go catastrophically wrong, and then I'll start reinvesting my faith. But until you can do that, I don't want to hear it. 83 and a half, nah. Give me 78. Dodgers, 102 and a half on the money. It's kind of hard when you're predicting a team to win 102 games to argue that they can't do better. But teams like the 98 Mariners the 98 Yankees or the 97 Indians, you can't quantify how good these teams are. You can take a shot. Clearly, that's what Vegas is doing. But it is what it is. 102 and a half, that's about right. I would have them at max 105 because the Padres are so much better. But, yeah, I'm not going to put them over 105. Therefore, I can't put them and take the over. The Miami Marlins, 71 and a half. on the money. I get it. This is a playoff team. But in a 60-game season, about 25 out of 30 teams were playoff teams. I don't see that same magic just reappearing out of nowhere from Miami. I just don't. They're getting better, yeah, but that division's a dogfight, and the 4 teams that they share a division with are noticeably better. Just simple as that. Brewers, 82.5 over. There's a very good chance that this team wins the NL Central. Underrated pitching. Underrated lineup. Very good on defense, aside from Keston Hiura. And a very good bullpen. I don't really see how the Brewers are if they lose that division, it's by at most 2 games. But I'll give them 87 wins. 87 to 89. Twins, 88.5. Oof. On the money, bordering on definite under. What we have here with the Twins is a team that can hit the absolute shit out of the ball. Kenta Maeda was a very good pickup for them. They did lose some pieces in the bullpen, and we don't know what the hell is going on with Jose Barrios, if he's ever going to take the leap to the land of ace. Until he does, 88.5 is a good number. They should compete for a wild card, but they're not where the White Sox have circumvented them just by having pitching depth and a better bullpen. The New York Mets, 90.5. That to me is a wild card team. This to me is a team that if they lose the division to the Braves, it will not be by more than 2 games. It's very similar to the dynamic with the Brewers. They're very good. They're competitive. They have pitching. They're good in everything. They're not really lacking in any department. The problem is, I think the Braves are one of the teams that can best them over the course of an 18-game season schedule. That to me is probably the only reason that they won't win the division, but 90.5, I put them closer to 93 to 95. Same with the Braves. It's that close. Yankees, 95.5. Yeah, this is probably the best team in the American League. Take my bias aside. I understand the White Sox are very, very good and are probably the second best team in the American League. The Yankees did improve their pitching. The Yankees have a very dangerous lineup and a solid bullpen. There's no major additions aside from Kluber and Tyone because that's really all you had to fix. If Judge and Stanton stay healthy, don't miss each more than 20 games, this could be a 100-win team. I have them at 98. I think that's a fair number for the Yankees. The Oakland A's, 86.5. This is tricky. I'm going to put that on the money. The A's did get a little bit worse. But like Tampa, Oakland is one of these pesky teams that knows what they're doing, but they'll never take the leap the way Tampa did, because Tampa has an unreal scouting department, an unreal analytics department, and a very good farm system. I don't think Oakland has the talent in the wings that can come in and fill in an injury as if the injury didn't happen. 86.5 for Oakland. I say you're peaking at 88. Maybe your floor is 82, but you're going to be in the 80s. You're better than 500 for sure. That seems like a fair number. Philadelphia Phillies, 80.5. Again, on the money. That's probably the best 4th place team in baseball, unfortunately. Pitching is going to be a problem. They had, I believe, statistically the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball history last year. They did they took steps to fix it. But I think after Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler's good, but he's not the number 2 that the Mets have with a healthy Syndergaard or what Washington has with Strasburg or even Corbin. And they don't have the lineups that Atlanta has, the Mets have, or even, I mean, I guess I'll put them on par with the Nationals, but the Nationals can pitch. As much as I love Joe Girardi, I mean, 80 and a half, I give you max 83, max. And if you underperform, get some injuries, I could see 77. Pirates, 59 and a half. This team is garbage. This team sucks. This is one of the worst teams ever assembled in baseball history. The only problem is that they have Ke'Bryan Hayes, who is an absolute stud of a third baseman. And it's going to be unfortunate because there's not going to be any talent around him for the foreseeable future. I think the next best hitter on that lineup, unless I'm forgetting somebody, aside from Jacob Stallings, is Todd Frazier. That should kind of tell you everything. And they can't pitch for shit. So yeah, there's that. San Diego Padres, 94 and a half. If we're calling the Dodgers to win upwards of 105, 94 and a half seems a little bit low for the Padres. I can see them being a 97, 98 win team. They are that good. I see the Padres being slightly similar to the Braves in that the depth might be a bit of an issue, but the core of the Padres is young enough where unless it's a freak injury, I don't foresee many injuries in their future, aside from obviously Mike Clevenger being hurt, but that's, neither here nor there. That lineup can that rotation can weather that storm. Realistically, I think you got a 97, 98 win team here easily, but I just don't think they're better than the Dodgers. Giants, 75 and a half. I would say that's about right. I would say that's about right. This is a team full of aging superstars and Mike Yastrzemski. Pitching is lineup is everything's They're like the epitome of a C. They're just average across the board. So yeah, what does average across the board get you? A smidge under 500. Yeah, maybe you're 82 at tops, but I think you're more in the high 70s than low 80s. Mariners coming in 72 and a half. I'll take the over on Seattle. I like this team. I like this team in that it's very young. It's scrappy. It has the reigning rookie of the year. It has what could be the next rookie of the year in Jared Kelenic. Marco Gonzalez is not garbage as a starting pitcher. He's actually low-key underrated. The problem I have with Seattle is just it is the pitching. The pitching after Gonzalez, I know you have done Justice Sheffield and you did bring back James Paxton. For a team that's not expected to make the playoffs, I think they're in a good spot because they can be competitive. They're not going to win. They're not going to win the division, but they're not the doormat that they've been the last couple of years. St. Louis Cardinals, 86 and a half. Give me the over on the Cards. Simply put, them and the Brewers is going to be a hell of a race to watch because those teams are very, very equally capable. I would just worry a little bit more with the Cardinals about their overall pitching depth after Jack Flaherty. I know they have a good bullpen with Gallegos, Jordan Hicks, if he's returning to normal. I just worry about the guys like Miles Michaelis, Carlos Martinez. I don't know if you're gonna what kind of year you're gonna get, simply put. But they're calling 86 and a half. I could see them getting 92 to 89. Tampa Bay, 85 and a half. How dare you disrespect Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay realistically is probably 91 to 87. I understand they lost Charlie Morton. And I don't really care because they did pick up Luis Patino. Frankly, Tampa is the complete antithesis of the Reds. They're going to, I'm going to be high on Tampa until they show me that they're not worth being high on. So until that happens, they're going to get the over treatment. 3 left. Texas Rangers. Give me the under. This is the worst team in the American League. I don't really think it's close. Cutting Rougned Odor kind of told you that. I mean, that kind of just tells you what state the team is in. Would be amazed if Joey Gallo was there past the All-Star break, and once he's gone, I don't see how they score runs. And they don't have a good rotation or a bullpen. Don't expect much good coming from that. Toronto Blue Jays, 86.5. On the money. I don't think Toronto wins above 90 games. Here's why. Hyun-Jin Ryu is a great pitcher, and then the drop-off in that rotation is immense. Kirby Yates, their star closer acquisition, blew his UCL, needs Tommy John. Can you hit? Unquestionably, yes. Can you pitch? Not 4 out of 5 days. But 86.5, that's a good number. I give them 88. Last team, Washington Nationals, 84.5 on the money. I don't see this team making the playoffs, but I don't see them missing by a whole lot. I just think the Mets and Braves are that much better to the point where I feel like that bullpen's going to shoot them in the foot again. I just do. So, yeah, for any of you gamblers out there, that is my 2021 over, under, or on the money predictions. If you like the video, leave a comment. If you're on the Instagram, get at me there. Enjoy the season and be on the lookout for our predictions episode of the Take It Deep podcast coming out tomorrow night. And yeah, if I don't see you, take it deep. Peace.